In a single moment, she vanished. A beautiful student from one of Sudan's most powerful families leaves for school and never comes back, screams in the street, a man pretending to be a cop, and a body dumped in a sea of garbage. What began as a missing person case turned into one of the most disturbing crimes in Sudanese history. This is the full story of Amira Al-Hakeem and the dark secrets that many tried to bury forever. If you're into true crime and mysterious stories, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because some secrets don't stay buried for long. Her name was Amira Al-Hakeem, a name that would soon send shivers across Sudan. She came from a powerful, well-known family, lived a quiet life, and was known for her beauty, the kind of beauty that turned heads, even though she was still just a student. That morning in 1985, Amira left her home like any other school day. She never came back. Her family grew frantic. They searched, they called, they asked, but she had vanished without a trace. After 2 days of silence, her family went to the police. And because of her family's influence, the case caught the attention of local newspapers. Soon, the entire country was watching, gripped by fear and confusion. Where was Amira Al-Hakeem? Rumors spread. Was it a kidnapping, a runaway, a targeted crime? No one knew. The streets of Sudan grew tense. Parents feared letting their daughters walk to school. Everyone waited for answers, but none came, until something strange happened. About a week after Amira's disappearance, a peculiar article appeared in one of the Sudanese newspapers. It described a dramatic scene in a poor neighborhood, a man on a motorcycle arguing with a young, strikingly beautiful girl. The man claimed to be a police officer and accused the girl of being a suspect. He said he was taking her to the nearby police station, but the girl screamed for help. Her cries drew the attention of shop owners and bystanders. Suspicious, they confronted the man, asking for proof that he was really with the police. He had nothing to show them, no ID, no badge, just his word. Then a girl emerged from the crowd and claimed to know him. She said he was, indeed, a real officer. Still, the locals didn't feel safe. They insisted the girl get into a taxi and head to the police station, with the supposed officer following behind on his motorcycle. It was their way of making sure she got there safely. That article, just a small piece in the back of a newspaper, changed everything. The description of the mysterious girl in the story matched Amira perfectly, right down to the day it happened. It was too much of a coincidence. Investigators felt it immediately. This could be their first real lead. They summoned the journalist who wrote the piece. He explained that the story came from his cousin, a young woman who had witnessed the whole scene firsthand. She gave him the account in detail, and he wrote it up for the paper. The police demanded to speak with the cousin. She took them to the exact street where the argument had happened. The officers began questioning shopkeepers and residents. All of them confirmed the story. Yes, the argument had taken place. Yes, they had seen the man, the girl, the crowd. And then, a key witness stepped forward, a shop owner who had seen everything. When shown a photo of Amira Al-Hakeem, he didn't hesitate. "That's her," he said. "That's the girl the man tried to take." Investigators were sure they were on the verge of solving the mystery. They rushed to the police station where the girl was supposedly taken, only to hit a dead end. There were no records, no reports, no mention of a girl brought in that day. No officer came forward, no motorcycle registered to any officer in that station. And just like that, the case collapsed back into shadow. The only person who had vouched for the so-called officer was the mysterious girl in the crowd, the one who said she knew him. Who was she? Where did she go? The investigation splintered into 3 urgent missions. One group was tasked with finding the girl who confirmed the officer's identity, another to locate the taxi driver who took the girl to the station, and the third to track down the man who posed as a police officer. More witnesses were interviewed. Slowly, pieces began to fall into place. The key shopkeeper, the one closest to the incident, offered new information. He remembered the girl who had identified the man. She was beautiful, dressed in what he described as party clothes, completely inappropriate for morning hours. Her appearance stood out, almost staged. This led the police to suspect something unusual. Maybe the girl worked in the nearby nightlife scene. The neighborhood had several nightclubs and late-night spots, but even that theory led nowhere until they had an idea. They took the witness on a tour of every club in the area, hoping he might spot the girl. If he did, it could unravel the entire mystery. Because one thing was becoming clear. Amira didn't just disappear. Someone made her vanish, and whoever that someone was, they had help. The vanishing of Amira Al-Hakeem, a name whispered in fear, a disappearance cloaked in lies, and a truth darker than anyone could imagine. Weeks after the dramatic incident in the street, the one where a girl was almost taken by a man claiming to be a police officer, the investigation finally gained momentum. The witness, who had identified the supposed officer, was eventually found. She had been recognized by one of the locals during visits to several nightclubs scattered around the area. Once in custody, she confirmed what she had seen: a heated altercation between a man and a girl, the man claiming to be a police officer. And yes, she knew him. His name? Abdel Sadiq Youssef, and he really was a police officer. The investigators dove into his file. What they discovered made the blood run cold. Abdel Sadiq hadn't reported to work in over 2 months. He had simply vanished. And although he claimed to be acting under police authority, his motorcycle was privately owned, not registered to any department. The evidence was overwhelming. Abdel Sadiq Youssef had lured Amira Al-Hakeem away, and now he was gone. Authorities scrambled to issue a travel ban, but due to a clerical error, the order was filed under a mistaken name, Abdullah instead of Abdel Sadiq. By the time the mistake was caught, he was gone. He had fled Sudan and crossed the border into Egypt. Meanwhile, another breakthrough arrived. After months of searching, investigators finally tracked down the taxi driver who had taken Amira that day. He confirmed everything. A beautiful girl had entered his cab, followed by a man on a motorcycle who claimed to be a police officer. They were supposedly heading to a police station, but on the way, the man flagged down the taxi, told the driver to pull over, and took the girl with him, insisting he would handle it from there. The driver obeyed. He didn't question it, and with that, Amira disappeared once again. Public anger was mounting. Protesters accused the authorities of covering up the truth. Was the government protecting one of its own? But Sudanese authorities weren't giving up. They reached out to their counterparts in Egypt, requesting the arrest and extradition of Abdel Sadiq Youssef. For weeks he remained hidden, a ghost in Cairo. Then, investigators reached out to his sister. Perhaps out of guilt or fear, she agreed to help. She contacted her brother, learned where he was staying, and passed the information on. The arrest came swiftly. Abdel Sadiq Youssef was brought back to Sudan in chains. But even in custody, the central question loomed large. Where was Amira Al-Hakeem? And then, slowly, painfully, the truth unraveled. Amira and Abdel Sadiq had once shared a romantic relationship. She was admired by many, her beauty making her a figure of fascination and envy. But she had ended things. She wanted to move on, to marry someone else. Abdel Sadiq couldn't let go. He tried to confront her several times, but she avoided him. On the day of the incident, he made a final attempt. When the confrontation grew public and people began to intervene, he agreed to a compromise, let her take a taxi to the station, and he would follow. But that was never his plan. Once away from the crowd, he stopped the taxi, pulled her out, and forced her onto his motorcycle. She resisted. She screamed. As he sped off with her, she struggled violently, and then she fell. The fall was brutal. Her injuries were catastrophic. She died before he could even think of taking her to a hospital. Panic-stricken, Abdel Sadiq turned to the only person he could trust, a close friend named Youssef. He brought Amira's lifeless body to his home, begging him for help. Youssef agreed to hide the body temporarily. Abdel Sadiq said he'd change his clothes and return quickly, but when he came back, he found a horror he hadn't expected. Youssef had violated Amira's corpse. The shock was immense, but the guilt was quickly buried beneath fear. Now they weren't just covering up a death, they were covering up a grotesque crime. They needed to make her body disappear. Together, they took her remains to one of Sudan's largest garbage dumps, a sprawling wasteland that stretched for miles. They buried her among the filth and the forgotten. For days, the police searched, and then, a week later, they found her. The body of Amira Al-Hakeem was recovered. Justice, long delayed, came swiftly. Both Abdel Sadiq and Youssef were arrested, tried, and sentenced. But fate had one final twist. Abdel Sadiq Youssef, the man at the center of the country's most haunting disappearance, died in prison before completing his sentence. To this day, the story of Amira Al-Hakeem remains one of Sudan's darkest and most chilling tales. A story of obsession, betrayal, and a justice that came far too late.